Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are opening up just a really remarkable repository of knowledge straight from Japan.
hmm
It's focused on a philosophy that promises not just longevity, but, a life saturated with meaning and purpose.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Our source material today is rich, pulling together deep psychological models, the surprising, simple secrets of centenarians, and the philosophy that ties it all together, Ikigai.
That's right. And for you, our listener,
Mhm.
the mission today is pretty profound. We're synthesizing the absolute foundational pillars of resilience and, well, optimal living.
Right.
This deep dive, it goes way beyond just a simple career advice chart you might see online. We're dissecting how therapeutic models like logotherapy and meritotherapy provide the framework for finding meaning,
Okay.
how the state of flow maximizes the value of our time, and exactly what actionable secrets about diet and gentle movement the world's longest living populations practice every single day.
So we're cutting through quite a bit of density here to deliver the core insights.
Exactly.
The goal is really to distill the psychological and lifestyle roots of finding something to live for, making sure you walk away with a toolkit for integrating purpose and anti-fragility into your life.
Let's unpack this beautiful blend of ancient wisdom and modern psychology.
Let's do it. Okay, so we have to start with the cornerstone. Ikigai. Ikigai. Now, most people who encounter this term in the West, they probably think of that, that clean Venn diagram.
Right, the four circles.
Exactly. What you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for. Our sources, though, they demand a much deeper definition.
Yeah, much deeper.
This isn't about optimizing your career path. It's about the intrinsic value you find just in existence itself. It is, quite literally, your reason for being.
And understanding the literal translation, I think, helps immensely in grasping that depth. The term ikigai is composed of two main characters.
Okay.
You have iki, which is about life or living. Pretty straightforward, but it's the second part. Gai, that's really fascinating.
That.
Yeah, okay. It translates to worth, value, or benefit. And what's historically interesting is that the character kai actually derives from the word for shell.
Shell, like a seashell.
Exactly. Specifically reflecting the monetary value of objects, like shells, that were traded way back in the Heian period. So when they say ikigai, they are literally talking about the concrete worth of your life,
Wow.
the non-negotiable value you derive from just waking up every morning.
That concept of intrinsic worth, it makes perfect sense when we connect it to therapeutic models designed to combat that feeling of meaninglessness, that pervasive sense of, I feel empty inside. And this is where logotherapy comes in, right? Viktor Frankl's approach, centered entirely on the will to meaning.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
Logotherapy directly confronts what Frankl called the existential vacuum. Its core technique is to challenge the individual to discover their unique purpose, even, and this is key, especially in the face of suffering. And to truly appreciate the mindset shift required, the sources lay out a foundational understanding by highlighting the 10 differences between psychoanalysis and logotherapy. Now, this isn't just trivia, it's really a philosophical framework.
Right. It helps contrast the approaches. I think we should focus on a few of those critical differences because they really define the transition from, say, looking backward to looking forward.
Good idea.
The first major difference seems to be the shift from causality to teleology. Psychoanalysis often digs into past causes, childhood drivers,
Yeah.
Why did this happen to me?
Right, the focus is on the past.
But logotherapy focuses on the future, on teleology, which is the study of purpose. It asks, what is life asking of me now? It kind of turns the patient from a historical victim into a future agent.
That's a huge distinction, yeah. Another crucial difference is how they address basic human needs. Psychoanalysis often seeks to satisfy drives, like Freud's pleasure principle. Logotherapy, on the other hand, recognizes the deepest human drive is the will to meaning. And that often requires sacrificing pleasure or comfort.
So instead of just helping someone achieve emotional comfort, logotherapy challenges them to transcend their current difficulty by focusing on a future meaning they need to fulfill.
Exactly. It's the difference between seeking inner peace and accepting a vital challenge.
Okay. And we also see this in their view of conscience, don't we?
We do.
Where some therapies might see the conscience as, a repressive force, something to be analyzed and maybe mitigated. Logotherapy views it as the organ of meaning.
The organ of meaning, I like that.
Yeah, it's the intuitive guide that helps us discern what is truly worthwhile. It's something to be listened to, not dismantled.
And finally, a very practical difference is the approach to neuroses. Traditional methods often treat neurosis as a purely psychological issue, maybe derived from past conflict. Logotherapy, particularly when dealing with existential distress, might view it differently. It might see it as an attempt by the soul to find meaning, or perhaps a failure to find that meaning. So the cure, therefore, isn't necessarily comfort or catharsis. It's the courageous assumption of responsibility for one's unique life task.
Wow, that's profound. So logotherapy provides the direction, the purpose, but purpose is kind of useless without the ability to act on it, especially when internal emotions like anxiety or self-doubt constantly interfere.
Oh, the internal block.
Which is why we need to segue into Morita therapy, a distinctly Japanese psychological approach that focuses on the acceptance of self and the primacy of action.
Absolutely. If logotherapy is about discovering external meaning, Morita therapy is, you could say, about achieving internal liberation, so you can pursue that meaning regardless of your mood.
Internal liberation.
Yeah. It's a structural behavioral approach rooted in Shisen, the natural order. The core principle is deceptively simple. Feelings, positive or negative, are uncontrollable, like the weather. Your actions and behavior, however, are completely controllable. The goal is to accept the feelings and commit to purposeful action anyway.
That sounds incredibly powerful, especially for anyone who struggles with anxiety or, analysis paralysis, where they wait until they feel ready to act.
Exactly that.
But the process itself, as outlined in the sources, it sounds highly structured and pretty intense. We need to detail the 4 phases of Morita therapy. But first, let me challenge you a bit on the initial step. For the average person today, how realistic is phase 1?
That's an important question, because the traditional model is extreme. Phase 1 is characterized by absolute complete rest.
Complete rest.
We're talking typically a week of isolation and silence, prohibiting reading, writing, any external stimuli, really.
Wow.
The purpose isn't relaxation, not primarily. It's sensory deprivation designed to force suppressed emotions, anxiety, that internal dialogue, to surface without any external distraction or outlet. It's meant to be emotionally jarring.
That initial week of total isolation sounds almost impossible in modern life. But the psychological payoff is clarity, right? You strip away all the crutches you use to avoid those feelings.
Exactly. And modern adaptations often involve a more structured reduction of stimuli, focusing on mindfulness and eliminating distraction.
Yep.
But the goal remains the same. Realize the powerlessness of trying to control your feelings directly.
Okay.
Once that realization starts to sink in, you move to phase 2. This is light, repetitive occupational therapy. You still maintain silence, mostly, but you begin engaging in simple, mundane work.
Like what?
Like light sweeping, maybe some calligraphy practice, simple gardening. The work is intentionally repetitive and low stakes.
And the purpose of that light work is what? Is it just to get the body moving again?
It's actually threefold. First, it builds patience. Second, it trains concentration away from internal rumination. And third, most importantly, it starts establishing that crucial pattern. You can perform valuable tasks even when you feel anxious or unsettled.
Ah, okay. The focus is shifting back to the external world, slowly.
Precisely. Then, the third phase ramps up the intensity. This involves more intensive, complex labor, often physical tasks like more involved gardening, woodworking, maybe heavier chores. This is where the patient really tests that acceptance principle.
How so?
In phase 3, the patient is required to complete the task effectively, regardless of how they feel. The objective is sustained attention and effort. So if you're anxious while digging a garden bed, the anxiety doesn't stop the digging.
Right.
You acknowledge the anxiety is present, but it becomes irrelevant to the quality of the work. This establishes a permanent habit that purpose your Ikigai dictates behavior, not mood. The action becomes the focus.
And then phase 4 is the return to the real world, but armed with this, structural acceptance.
Yes, phase 4 is the return to social life and practical routine. The patient practices living their life goal, their purpose, while fully accepting the presence of feelings they can't change. Morita therapy teaches that often the fear of the feeling is worse than the feeling itself. By the time they reach this phase, they've learned to bypass the mood entirely and act from necessity and purpose. It's a structured, action-oriented path toward the emotional freedom you need to pursue that logotherapy-defined meaning.
Okay, so when we talk about fulfilling that purpose through action, we inevitably arrive at the peak state of experience, flow.
Csikszentmihalyi's concept.
Exactly. This is that psychological state where your sense of time vanishes, the self kind of fades away, and you become completely absorbed, optimized, engaged in whatever you're doing. If Ikigai is the destination, you could say flow is the fuel for the journey.
That's a great way to put it. Flow is the state where we maximize the worth of life, the guy in Ikigai, moment by moment. It's that psychological sweet spot where challenge and skill meet perfectly.
Right.
And the sources define this state quite precisely by outlining the 7 conditions for achieving flow. We really have to understand these conditions intimately if we want to invite flow into our lives more consistently.
Okay, let's break them down. Let's start with the immediate requirements of the task itself. Condition 1 is total. Concentration on the task. You need a high sustained level of focus. No multitasking.
Absolutely critical. And this is immediately followed by condition 2. The activity must have clear goals. If you don't know what you're trying to achieve step by step, moment by moment, flow is basically impossible.
We need that direction.
You do. And that clarity of goal must be supported by condition 3, immediate feedback on performance. You need to know right away whether the action you just took was successful or if it needs correction.
Like a musician playing an instrument.
Perfect example. The feedback is immediate and auditory. Or a surgeon getting instant feedback from the patient's vitals or the tissue response.
Okay, now here's the crucial balance point, condition 4. There has to be a constant dynamic balance between the challenge of the task and your own skill level.
A sweet spot.
Exactly. Too easy and you get bored, too hard and you get anxious and frustrated. Flow requires constantly nudging the challenge just slightly past your current comfort zone.
Condition 5 speaks more to the physical sensation, the effortlessness of action. Even though you might be actively exerting a lot of energy, the movement feels spontaneous, integrated, almost automatic.
Right. And condition 6 deals with the internal noise. External distractions fade and you lose self-consciousness. That constant inner critic, the shoulds and musts, they just go silent. You are simply doing. And the final condition, maybe the most memorable one, is the transformation of time. Hours can feel like minutes, or sometimes an intense moment can feel stretched out indefinitely.
Yeah.
When you achieve this entire complex, all 7 conditions, you're not just performing a task, you're maximizing your life's moment-to-moment experience.
And what's really fascinating is how this universal psychological concept is culturally embodied in Japan. The sources highlight flow in a Japanese context through figures who dedicate their entire lives to mastery.
You mean like the Takumis?
Exactly, the master craftsman. People who might spend 60 years perfecting just one skill, like making a flawless knife or weaving an incredibly complex textile. Their lives are defined by that pursuit of higher skill meeting higher challenge, constantly pushing that boundary.
We also see it in the highly specialized engineers and geniuses that are referenced. People who immerse themselves in complex technical problems for decades, just totally absorbed.
Right. And then we have the example of the otakus. Now, while that term often refers to highly specialized fans, maybe of anime or game.
Yeah, sometimes with negative connotations in the West.
True. But the reason the sources include them is purely psychological. Their dedication to a niche, whether it's gaming, anime, model building, whatever, is often characterized by an extreme, intense focus and absorption.
Right.
That leads to high levels of expertise and engagement within that specific boundary. It just illustrates that flow doesn't need to be related to traditional work.
Yeah.
It just needs that skill development and dedication.
So the takeaway here isn't what you do necessarily, but how you do it.
Exactly. And this ties perfectly into the analogy the sources use, the archer's secret.
Ah, I like this one.
Yeah. If an archer is fixated only on the outcome hitting the bullseye, their mind is in the future, right? Filled with anxiety about success or failure. But the secret, the path to flow, is to focus entirely on the process. The breathing, the technique, the posture, the smooth draw of the bowstring. When the process is perfect, or as near perfect as possible, the outcome tends to take care of itself.
That mindset process over outcome, that seems like the ultimate key to unlocking consistent flow states and really maximizing the value, the gay of your living.
Precisely.
That focus on process, it's the perfect bridge to the physical realm, isn't it? Let's look at the lifestyle habits of the centenarians, the true masters of longevity. The conversation often starts with a philosophical understanding of time and health, framed quite dramatically by the phrase, aging's escape velocity and the rabbit.
Right. This metaphor speaks to a modern, pretty optimistic anti-aging mindset. Longevity researchers, some of them, posit this concept of escape velocity.
Escape velocity? Like for rockets?
Kind of, yeah. The idea is that if technological and medical advances, think regenerative medicine, advanced diagnostics, if they progress fast enough, And if we can extend our healthy lifespan just long enough to benefit from those breakthroughs, we might eventually reach a point where we can indefinitely outpace the biological deterioration of aging, like escaping Earth's gravity.
So if the technology is the fast-advancing finish line, what are our current habits in this metaphor?
Our current healthy lifestyle choices are the rabbit. We have to stay healthy enough, keep chasing hard enough, like the metaphorical rabbit in a race, to stay in the game until that potential technological leap occurs.
Ah, I see. It frames personal habits not just as a way to maybe extend life by a few years, but as a proactive race against decay until the next major scientific paradigm shift might happen.
Exactly. It adds a layer of urgency, maybe.
And the people who are currently demonstrating incredible success in this race, well, they are the masters of longevity. Their wisdom is often distilled into these simple, powerful, and sometimes wonderfully direct anecdotes.
Yeah, I love how these simple statements just cut through years of complex research sometimes.
Me too.
And their advice consistently emphasizes psychological health and simplicity. One centenarian advised, "Eat and sleep, and you'll live a long time. You have to learn to relax."
Sounds obvious, but maybe it isn't practiced enough. That stress management, the ability to genuinely relax, it seems foundational.
Absolutely. The dietary consistency is also striking in some anecdotes we hear, "I've never eaten meat in my life." Now, this isn't universal for all centenarians, of course, but it does point toward a high prevalence of plant-based, traditionally simple diets in some long-lived populations.
Okay. Then there's the remarkable mental resilience captured in that simple affirmation. Everything's fine.
That's a profound acceptance of the present state, isn't it? It really echoes wabi-sabi, which we'll get to later.
It does. And tying directly back to Ikigai and the imperative of Morita therapy to act purposefully, another shared wisdom nugget was, if you keep your mind and body busy, you'll be around a long time.
Yeah, the pursuit of daily tasks, having small, manageable purposes, keeps the neural pathways firing and the body engaged. That activity prevents stagnation, both mentally and physically.
And my personal favorite, just the beautiful, humble summary of it all. I just haven't died yet.
Chuckle softly.
Right.
It speaks to their non-anxious acceptance of life as it unfolds, just taking it day by day.
Beneath all this anecdotal evidence, though, there seems to be a non-negotiable command. Never stop learning. Cognitive engagement, whether it's through hobbies, social interaction, acquiring new skills, it seems just as crucial as physical movement in the longevity formula.
Absolutely. And to ground this discussion, we need to turn to the specific environment where these principles seem to flourish. Longevity in Japan, particularly the island of Okinawa and the small village of Ogimi.
Ogimi, right. The village of longevity.
Exactly. Our sources bring in some critical cultural context from that area, the Yamburu jungle, referencing the Bunagaya spirits and the concept of mabui.
Okay, tell us about those Bunagaya spirits.
The Bunagaya spirits are the local nature spirits, forest spirits, river spirits. It grounds their lifestyle in this deep, respectful interaction with nature. Everything they do, from farming to fishing, seems connected to this natural context.
What's the sense of place?
Very much so. And mabui is the Okinawan concept of the life force or spirit. It's believed that when your mabui is unbalanced or lost, maybe due to shock or prolonged distress, it can lead to illness. So maintaining a strong mabui is intrinsically linked to maintaining social connection, emotional balance, and one's sense of purpose, their Ikigai. You basically can't live long without a strong spirit in this view.
That cultural bedrock, it must result in clear, actionable behavioral patterns. The sources mention a declaration from the town where people live longest, which distills their lifestyle into 5 core points.
Yes, a sort of manifesto for longevity.
Let's detail these as they feel like the practical Ogimi blueprint. Point 1. Don't worry. This isn't just a suggestion, is it? It sounds like an active practice of stress reduction and acceptance.
It really links directly back to Morita therapy's principles, yes. Active acceptance, letting go of unnecessary worry.
Point 2. Cultivate good habits. And this is emphasized twice in the source material, which really underscores that longevity isn't achieved through, like, heroic one-off efforts.
No, it's the relentless consistency of small, positive, daily routines. Habit creates destiny, you could say.
I like that. Point 3 is hugely important, I think. Nurture your friendships every day. This sounds like the structure of the moai, right?
Exactly. The moai are these supportive social circles common in Okinawa, where a group of friends commits to supporting each other financially, emotionally, socially throughout their entire lives.
Wow.
These deep, lifelong social nets are fundamental anti-fragility measures, built-in support systems.
Okay. Point 4. Live an unhurried life. The sources suggest intentionally stepping off the frenetic treadmill of modern high-stress living. Find joy and presence in slow, deliberate action.
It's a pace that respects the process, much like the archer's secret we talked about, not rushing through life.
Right. And finally, point 5, be optimistic. Maintaining a positive, forward-looking mindset, even while acknowledging the reality of life's difficulties, is consistently correlated with long-term mental and physical health.
It is. So these 5 points really synthesize the holistic approach of Ogimi's lifestyle. Don't worry, good habits, strong friendships, unhurried pace, and optimism.
A powerful combination. Okay, now let's move to the really practical physical practices, starting with the Ikigai diet. Our sources here are grounded in some serious public health data, citing bodies like the World Health Organization, the Japanese Ministry of Health, the CDC.
Right, this isn't just folk wisdom. There's data behind the traditional Okinawan diet's benefits, for instance.
So the main dietary message for those of us maybe in the West, according to the source material, is kind of encapsulated in this concept, the antioxidant canon for Westerners.
Yeah, the canon. It sounds quite authoritative.
It does. What does it imply?
It's essentially a call to action, focusing on dramatically increasing the intake of highly colorful plant-based foods. Those nutrient-dense, high antioxidant elements, think bright vegetables, fruits, legumes.
So in practical terms, it means minimizing processed foods, sugars, maybe excessive meat, and focusing heavily on whole, natural ingredients, like the purple sweet potatoes and bitter melon that are staples in the Okinawan diet.
Exactly. The canon implies a standard, almost a rule of life, where you consistently prioritize foods that actively combat cellular damage and inflammation, because that's really the root of many aging-related diseases.
Makes sense. Okay, the next pillar is movement. Crucially, this movement is described as non-strenuous and integrated into daily life. It's encapsulated by the phrase, as easy as getting out of your chair.
Yeah, the goal isn't intensity or peak fitness like an Olympic athlete. It's consistency and fluidity. Simply never sitting still for too long. Frequent low-impact movement throughout the day.
This brings us to the gentle practices that really exemplify this continuous low-impact movement. The sources detail 3 key disciplines: yoga, tai chi, and qigong. We know there are many different styles of yoga, offering everything from meditative restorative practices to, vigorous sweat-inducing flows.
But the common denominator is always connecting breath and movement, fostering that mind-body awareness.
Right. Then there is the profound practice of Tai Chi, or Tai Chi Chuan, renowned for its flowing, almost dance-like martial movements that promote balance, coordination, and tranquility. For the listeners seeking to understand this practice better, the sources provide the foundational structural concepts in the 10 basic principles of Tai Chi.
Yes, these principles are key to understanding the internal quality of the movement, not just the external form.
Okay, let's maybe focus on 4 of those core principles, because they seem to dictate the entire practice. The first is holding the head upright and empty. What does empty mean here?
It means the neck is relaxed, not stiff, and the attention is focused, allowing the spirit, or shen, to rise. It ensures correct posture and a state of internal alertness without tension.
Okay. The second principle is sinking the shoulders and dropping the elbows. Why is that important?
This prevents stiffness in the upper body. It encourages proper circulation of energy, or qi, and ensures all movements originate from the body's center, the dantian, not from strained shoulder or elbow joints.
Right, power from the core, which leads to principle 3, using the waist and distinguishing substantial from insubstantial.
Exactly. The movement should be powered from the turning of the waist, the body's center, and your weight must be clearly shifted. If your left leg is supporting 100% of your weight, that's substantial. Your right leg is then completely free, insubstantial, ready to move without compromising balance. This is absolutely key for fluidity and stability.
That makes sense. And finally, the principle of maintaining continuous fluid movement. No breaks, no sudden starts or stops.
Right, which gives rise to that beautiful imagery the sources use to describe the required motion, imitating clouds.
Yeah.
It's movement mimicking natural, expansive, unhurried phenomena. It links right back to that Ogimi principle of living an unhurried life.
Beautiful. The third critical movement practice mentioned is Qigong, Qigong. How does this differ from Tai Chi?
While Tai Chi is a martial art, Qigong is focused more specifically on cultivating and circulating Qi, or life energy, primarily for health and well-being. The general benefits of Qigong are broad, enhancing physical health, improving cognitive function, promoting emotional balance, all through the coordination of breath, posture, and awareness.
Okay, and how is it practiced?
To achieve these benefits, Qigong relies on specific structured methods. The methods for practicing Qigong involve detailed, controlled breathing techniques, deep meditation, which can be standing, seated, or even moving, and specific dynamic or static postures designed to influence the flow of Qi. It's a very integrated mind-body practice that really requires consistency.
And its profound structure is often framed around the 5 elements of Qigong, rooted in classical Chinese elemental theory, right? Wood, fire, earth.
That's right. And this isn't just mystical symbolism, it's a comprehensive health system. Each element corresponds to specific organ systems and functions. For instance, the wood element corresponds to the liver and gallbladder, and it's associated with growth, planning, and flexibility. Qigong exercises for wood often focus on stretching and movements that open the sides of the body.
Okay. And fire?
The fire element corresponds to the heart and small intestine, relating to joy, circulation, and consciousness. Qigong exercises targeting fire might involve expansive open movements that stimulate the chest and upper back.
And earth?
Earth element relates to the spleen and stomach, dealing with digestion, nourishment, and stability. Exercises related to earth often focus on grounding, centering, and abdominal breathing. Understanding these elements, and there's also metal and water, shows that Qigong isn't just random stretching. It's conceived as a diagnostic and preventative system for maintaining the body's internal balance according to these traditional principles.
Fascinating. Okay, our final concept today really pulls all these threads together under the banner of psychological endurance. Resilience. And this is where we encounter the profound Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi.
Yes, wabi-sabi. It's the ability, or maybe the practice, of finding beauty in imperfection, transience, and incompleteness.
Imperfection as beautiful.
Exactly. Teaches us to cherish things as they are, including ourselves, our current struggles, our failures. This mindset is fundamentally connected to resilience, because if you can accept the impermanence and imperfection of a setback as an inherent, maybe even beautiful part of life's unfolding process,
then it loses its power to paralyze you.
Precisely. It ceases to be a source of deep, paralyzing distress and becomes just part of the story.
That philosophical acceptance is perfectly embodied in that Japanese proverb, nanakoro byoki.
7 falls, 8 rises.
Exactly. You acknowledge the inevitable falls, the failures, the challenges 7 times, metaphorically, but you mandate the rise 8 times. Resilience isn't about avoiding failure. It's ensuring that every failure is followed by a determined attempt to stand back up.
Beautifully put. And to make this resilient mindset really actionable, the sources provide a powerful 3-step framework for reducing fragility in life.
Okay, let's hear it.
Step 1, and the source emphasizes this twice, so it's clearly important. Create redundancies.
Redundancies, like backups.
Exactly. Never rely on a single pillar for critical things.
Right.
Not a single source of income, not a single vital skill set, not a single relationship structure for all your support. When one system inevitably fails or falters, another must be in place to cushion the blow.
Okay, that's practical. Step 2.
Step 2 is about intelligent risk management. Bet conservatively in certain areas and take many small risks in others.
How does that work?
Protect your downside rigorously. Be conservative with things like your core health, your emergency finances, your foundational relationships. Don't gamble there. But do take frequent, manageable, small experiments in other areas, maybe new hobbies, side projects, intellectual exploration, small investments. This creates options and potential upsides without catastrophic vulnerability if one fails.
So, barbell strategy, essentially. Protect the core, experiment at the edges.
You could call it that, yeah. And the final step is proactive defense. Get rid of the things that make you fragile.
Actively eliminate weaknesses.
Yes. Identify and systematically eliminate your single points of failure. This could be a dependency on one critical client if you're freelance, a reliance on an old, unmaintained piece of equipment you need for work, or even an emotional dependency on external validation that makes you crumble under criticism. This framework moves resilience from just being a vague philosophical aspiration to a practical daily strategy for living a more robust, purpose-driven life. #tag outro.
What an incredible synthesis. We started with purpose, Ikigai, that reason for being, reinforced by the action-oriented acceptance and emotional neutrality of Morita therapy.
Right. Apt despite feelings.
Then we saw how flow maximizes the value of every hour we spend engaged in something.
Get an optimal experience.
And finally, we anchored it all in the highly practical longevity secrets of the centenarians, good habits, gentle movement modeled on Tai Chi and Qigong, and a diet prioritizing that antioxidant canon.
It really all converges on consistency and acceptance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Longevity isn't achieved by radical short-term sprints. It's the daily, decade-long dedication to small, positive habits.
Yeah.
Accepting difficulty with that wabi-sabi perspective and maintaining that clear purpose, the sense that your life, right here and now, holds intrinsic worth.
And as we close, I want to leave you, our listener, with 3 profound philosophical phrases from the texts. These are thoughts designed to be internalized, bringing profound acceptance into the present moment. The first is, ar. Take a moment to just reflect on that. It means essentially the life you have right here, only now.
The emphasis is on the current, immediate existence. Powerful.
The second profound thought is related to Morita's internal locus of control. Happiness is always decided by your own heart.
External circumstances are secondary to your internal framing. You choose your response.
And perhaps the most liberating idea, the final phrase, which translates roughly to, just as you are is fine.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. It's the ultimate reassurance, isn't it? Take the practical tools of flow and Morita therapy, apply the principles of resilience and movement, but always know that your imperfect journey, with all its falls and rises, is exactly where you need to be. It's okay.
We really encourage you to reflect on how you can actively integrate these principles. Think about seeking that intense absorption of flow, maybe adopting some of that structured action-first acceptance from Morita therapy into your daily life.
Use these insights to pursue greater purpose and build real resilience.
Thank you for diving deep with us today.